Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Comic. I'm your host, Sean Fuller, and today I'm joined by one and only Mr. Fish Lee, creator of Alice Lost in Wonderland. That's an interesting tale. A comic that flips a classic story completely on its head. In this version, Alice is a Wonderland aimlessly. She's a bounty hunter, tearing through the interdimensional rift of Wonderland on a mission to capture her time-traveling adopted dad, the White Rabbit. The wild, the witty, the full of energetic intimidation. We dive into what inspired this reimagination, how Mr. Fish brings such a bold vision to life, and what it takes to keep the indie comics thriving for today. Let's jump right into it and go to the end comic. Thank you. I try my best.
Good job.
So, for those that don't know, welcome to the meeting. If for the first time, people tell them about yourself, where you're coming from, where your journey began, what first drew you into comics.
I am Mr. Fish and MrFishComics. I am the fastest working man in indie comics. I have just finished my 118th book in 6 years that I've worked on, usually doing the pencils, letters, inks, the whole 9 yards, colors, everything. And this is like, I was just trying to count it up. It's like 20 something book that I've done of my own. So yeah, I stay busy. I do a lot of comics.
Hey, if you guys missed that, that's 127 books you said. That's a
18
lot.
altogether.
100. That's a lot of stuff that has my name tagged.
Hmm. Oh yeah, and I mean a couple of those, like one I penciled, two I just lettered, but for the most part, I do everything. You hand me a script, I hand you a finished book at the end of it. Like that's what I do.
Okay. So you take commission work. Does everyone know? Takes commission
Yeah,
work.
yeah, I do. I'm doing more and more of my own stuff, but I do take commission work, though I tend to stay pretty busy with my regular clients because once somebody works with me a time or two, they get addicted and they don't want to let me go. And they keep putting out more and more books, which is great. It keeps the kids fed, keeps a roof over my head. This has been my dream job since I was a little kid, and it only took like getting into my 40s before I got to make it my full time job. And now it's how I pay the mortgage and keep the bills paid. It's pretty cool.
Eh, I have to give props to that because a lot of people can't say they got to that point. But most importantly, the mere fact that your clients can sit there and say, "I gave it to him, and I can get everything done in one place." Because a lot of people have to outsource specific stuff, from the
Hmm.
wording to the line work to the illustration, all that stuff. So the mere fact you can do all that yourself, and people see the value in just having you do all of it, it's great.
Oh
I can
yeah,
also
and
see that. I can also see that you are very limited in that perspective. Like that means there's a lot of moving parts you have to keep
it's
juggling when it
all
comes.
on me too. That's the problem. So if I get sick, my not only does my writer get sick, but my penciler and my inker and my letterer, everybody's out of work if I get sick.
Oh
So
Lord. Okay, we
it's a
going.
problem.
Yeah, this is what. Hey, everyone. This is what they call a professional, and that's trying to scale. Okay, we all got those problems. Was there any particular artist, writer, or comic that made you say, "Ah, I want to do this for real"?
Oh man, I was sunk when I was a kid. I was sitting in front of the TV on Saturday mornings with like my bowl of Fruit Loops, and like the very first, I think, episode of Scooby Doo and Scrappy came on in 80 something. And in like the first episode, they were helping a comic book creator whose comic character had come to life, like the Blue Scarab or something,
Okay.
and was a villain, and they had to save this dude. And that's when I first saw that you could actually go to work all day and draw superheroes for a living. And I was done. There was nothing else I wanted to do after that. I've done a lot of other things, but I've made my living as a working artist ever since. So like I started making money off my art in like junior high, drawing people's like D&D
Wow.
characters, doing jobs for local businesses and stuff, designing logos, and then I just moved into, and I've done everything from murals to t-shirt design to logos on cars and all kinds of
Oh
stuff.
Lord, you stay hustle, huh?
Oh yeah, I spent years. I built a huge freelance career once in my life, just doing all of this stuff, and window painting for cars, lots, all this stuff. And then I got a crippling neurological disease, and it put me in a wheelchair for 15 years, and I couldn't walk, talk, or see most of that time. And because of that wonderful experience, I spent a lot of time disabled, and I when I got back to a better balance, and I got a good balance of meds, and I learned how to work with my disease instead of trying to fight against it and stuff
Mhm.
like that. Learned what I need to take care of myself so that I can have better days. I got to where I could start doing a little work again, and nobody wanted to hire the guy that might not be able to drive to work on Tuesday or
Mm,
can't talk on the phone Thursday. And so nobody wanted to risk it, no matter how good an artist I was. So it actually forced me to look for freelance work and build a freelance career from scratch again for the second time.
mm,
And this time, the world had changed enough that it was easier to get into doing comics, because it's never been easier to make your own comics. And you can work online with people around the world. I don't have to live in New York or LA to get a job drawing comics. I can live in Arkansas, and I can work with my flatter in the Philippines, and I can work with clients in Canada or the UK or Australia. And we can ship money back and forth. We can ship giant files over the internet. In my
mm-hmm.
last freelance career, I had to drive CDs to people's house and deliver it because you couldn't send files that big across the internet. And
Okay.
now I can just upload them to Google Drives, and you can download gigantic freaking files. It's
True.
amazing. We've got amazing digital printers that can print one copy of a comic or 500 copies if you want. It
Hmm.
You can deal directly with printers in China if you want to, and get offset printed comics done for like 50 cents or $1 a piece if you want to. That wasn't available unless you spoke Chinese and knew somebody there. Uh, it's amazing the way the internet and stuff has changed everything. So now I finally get to live that dream I got sitting on the floor on Saturday morning watching cartoons.
Okay. I would say that's an incredible journey in of itself because, um, for example, I used to work at the Department of Veterans Affairs, so I get to meet a lot of disabled vets and I kind of know their experience. So I understand the discrimination that comes with, oh, I have a disability and no, I can't, and people think that you're unable to do your job, which
Hmm.
is, which is,
Or
it's
unwilling to, which is
yeah,
even worse.
yeah,
Like,
it's weird. It's a weird it's a weird space. Because it's not like you can't demonstrate your ability to do something. It's just like their risk. The work environment has become so risk averse
mhm.
that the mere conversation of something that the internship is a risk, it becomes a negative conversation.
Oh
So
yeah.
I'm so happy that someone like you was able to say, "All right, cool, peace." A lot of people want to be like, "Get out this rat race," and you
Like, I've
got
done
out
it
there.
before, I could do it again, and
That
it was actually a toss-up. I was debating between starting a YouTube channel and doing sculptures, and, like, sculpting, like, Captain America and Superman, whatever the new movie was, until I could get enough fans that I could start trying to live off commissions, or do comic books, which I dearly love, and I'm a storyteller at heart, so
hmm
that's really I love sculpture, but I'm a storyteller. And so when it came down to it, comic book pages store flat and sculptures take up a lot of room. And that was the deciding factor. That's why I went the direction I went.
it's like my garage can't hold all my sculptures. We ain't gonna go down this rabbit hole.
I did not have a room this big at the time to be able to fill full of sculptures and stuff like I filled it
You
full
know,
of comics now.
you know what's funny? Because you just talk about the evolution of technology and how it created a lane for you to do what you're doing now. And I'm thinking about when you brought up sculptures, like, oh, 3D printing would have probably been a good thing because you can be like one print, and be done with it.
And that's the thing. Like I went to college and studied 3D animation and design. I was a really talented 3D modeler. Like I was
Mhm.
really good. And the problem is now technology has advanced so much that the software is like 60 generations removed from the stuff I learned on back in the
Mm,
90s. They don't even make the software that I know how to use anymore. And the stuff that they have now is so different and everything works so differently that I'm like, man, I could sit down and devote like 3 months and really learn the software and I
mhm.
could start doing these models myself again. But I can't afford to not work for 3 months. Like, you know how many books I could get done in 3 months as fast as I work? Like
Ah,
that, I can't turn down that kind of money. I
uh,
got a mortgage to pay, man. Like
hey, guy,
comics took off. We bought a bigger house.
hey,
Like things have been going.
you got the lane set. You were like, I can. That is, you can. You're at the point now. It's like, you know what? I can learn this, or I can just hire someone to do it.
That's it. It's cheaper in the long run. Like it cost me like 50 to $100 to get some little models made to use as references in my comics so that I
Mhm.
could like keep the details on a complicated car right or
Okay.
something. I could plot it all out myself each time, but that takes like an hour to figure out the perspective and which side was the gas tank on and things like that. Or I
Mhm.
could have somebody make a 3D model that I can look at. I'm like, oh, okay, that's what it looks like, and draw it from there.
Wow, that
Um,
level of detail. Yeah.
so that saves me time. But it cost me like $100 to just pay somebody to make it for me, and then I have
Mhm.
it forever to use. Or it would cost me thousands of dollars to take the time off of work to do it and myself, and that just don't make sense.
It
So
don't make sense though. More, and I think that's what most of the the complaints been going on right now between America and China. This concept was like, it's just cheaper just to outsource it. It's just,
it
well,
is though. I mean, I'm
it,
outsourcing it to a guy in like Chicago, but still I'm outsourcing it. Like
exactly. It's like
I get my little 3D figures that I sell with my
comic.
Kickstarter. I make little 3D D&D minis of the characters. We've got
Oh,
Alice and the Tin Man and the White Rabbit so far in this last campaign. I have a guy in Oklahoma from Etsy that 3D prints them for me and ships them to me.
eh, I'm gonna tell that because I think that's a very interesting conversation about just Kickstarter. But I was going to make sure that everyone gets to know what. Actually, that's a good question. So, how did yes, your Mr. Fish? Is that your real name or that's your nickname?
No, it's my actual name. My first name is Fisher, but
Okay.
my mama didn't call me that unless I was in like big trouble.
So
So
how does that shape your identity though? Because if your mom was like,
it it makes you tough. Like it's like the old Johnny Cash song, "A Boy Named Sue." Like growing up with a name like that, you got to get tough quick. And I also learned to jab back and get a good sense of humor, and it made me funnier because I had to learn to be fast to come up with quick comebacks. Now, granted, a lot of people come at me with the same jokes, and so it's not that hard to defend when they're using
they
the
like
same
come up
right
with
hook
something new,
every
right?
time. But everybody thinks they're the first one to come up with, "What kind of fish are you, Brim?" I just came up with that. Yeah, you and 100 other people. But
No,
but yeah, it's my first name and it stands out, so that's what I went with.
it's very good at the ability to kind of make someone actually stop in their tracks and then have a conversation. And I think um maybe because I was raised up in my world where it's like they're trying to make you blend in as much as possible, where
Mhm.
the mere fact you can't stick out as much. Because even me is like I like using strange names for certain stuff to kind of stick out because it makes people think. For example, I like to call myself King Petty when I'm ready to do petty stuff, and it's like people say, "Why would you say that?" I'm like, "Because I'm about to do something petty. Like, why would I not say it?" So the concept of just being able to stand out, and especially in a world like we have right now. But that brings up before. Actually, you did bring up this before. So before Alice in Wonderland, what kind of projects were you working on that helped you hone your storytelling and your style? Because you've been doing this a long time, so there's probably a
Oh
few stuff.
yeah. I mean, I've been an illustrator for years, and like like I said, I've made my living for a long time doing T-shirt designs and signs and all kinds of things that came through. So my style got simpler and simpler as I went because I realized all the tropes that we were used to in comics, especially if you came of age in the 90s and believed that you had to crosshatch every inch of the page or you didn't do your job right. A lot of those tropes didn't translate to the regular public, and they didn't understand because that lady had all those lines on her face. Ladies don't have lines all over their face, and they didn't understand what we're used to in comics. So I had to relearn to draw in a way that everybody could understand so that it looked right, on a sign or a t-shirt and read quickly and easily. And that
Mm.
really influenced the way I work now. And readability and legibility is one of the number one things for me. Like if you can't look at the page and instantly know what's going on and what they're doing, then I didn't do my job right. If and I kind of
How-
feel that way the whole way along the page. Like if I get done with the line art and you can't tell what's what without the colors to separate things, I didn't do a very good job on my line art. I need to go back
And I
and
would
fix.
say, from a storyteller standpoint, that puts a lot of pressure on you as a storyteller because you now have to explain a lot more about what's going on in the scene to
Mhm.
make it make sense as you go down the panel. Versus if you just made it full of dialogue, you could just
And
shortcut
that's one of
it.
the reasons that my clients, like once they work with me, they don't want to let me go because they realize very quickly how much I bring to the table because I've seen a lot of people come to me, especially at the early levels of indie comics,
Mhm.
way down on the ladder, the guys that are just getting started and whatnot, and they'll hit me up about something, and they'll find out I give them my price, and my price rate is great, but it's too much. They can find somebody in the Philippines that says they'll do it for $30 a page for full color. Okay, fine. I mean, absolutely take that deal if you can get it, and they'll deliver. And then I see the book, and I'm like, oh goodness, this person literally just gave them what was on the script, and a lot of the times the writers don't really think things through enough in the script to make sure that we know how did they get from this scene to this scene. Are we still in the same room? Is it still the same time of day? Is this the same person?
I understand. Hey, guys, you need to understand that's some serious issues. I'm sorry to laugh, but it's serious.
It really is. Like, I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've been reading an indie comic and I'll, turn the page and I'm like, did I miss a page or
Hmm.
are we outside now because we were just inside? How did we get here? And is this the same day? Is this the
Hmm.
same conversation? Like, did things change? And you know, occasionally, if you need to put a caption box or something that says that declares that this is a new city and this is a different time of day,
Hmm.
okay, fine, do that. But you shouldn't have to put caption box in every panel to explain what's going on because my artwork didn't do the job.
Hmm.
That's a problem. And
and
if that's the case, then
that's a part of storytelling that's creating a cohesive story that
mhm,
shows the transition between each section. And I'll be honest, it's it's very hard to pull off with it unless you're talented. And even now with with AI trying to be implemented everywhere, it's going to be even harder because I'm pretty sure as much as the I call AI the best dog fetchers in the game, they can fetch the content that you need very easily. But when it comes to cohesiveness,
mhm.
that's still something that they're still struggling with.
Oh yeah.
So I can see why people, because you just having that conversation just lets me know why people find you so valuable, because
Oh yeah.
just understanding that the value of that. And I used to tell people what breaks me as a IT person, professional, as good as I am, is because I understand the value of insight. It's a superpower in and of itself, because if by just being able to tell somebody something that they didn't even think about, but it's gonna be a problem if they don't fix it now. It's
Yeah.
some people. I've had people get up in meetings and come shake my hand because I'm like, yo, we didn't even think about that.
Hmm.
And you're right, that is serious. So,
And that's a big part of what I do when
mhm.
I'm working with, especially like new clients. When I'm reading the script, if I see something in the page and I'm like, this would really be better if we combined these three panels into one giant action shot that hits all the
Mhm.
same beats, but makes one really cool image on the page. Or if we split this one panel into three shots and then move the dialogue around a little bit, and then we can really hit that emotional punch and like watch her heart break over the
you,
panels.
you just
And
say that to me, man. I'd have been like, I've been the type of client be like, yo, you don't have to tell me. Let's do it.
well, and that's the thing. I found over time, especially as fast as I work, it's easier for me to just go ahead and pencil it and send it to you and say, hey, I had this idea for page 19 and here's what I was thinking, and show it to you. And it's, I know when I do that that you may say, no, let's keep it like it is in the script. And I have no problem going back and redrawing that page. I know I'm taking that risk when I do it, and it's happened twice out of 118 books that they told me to keep it like the script because they had something coming down the road that they were trying to set up. And
Mhm.
okay, great, no problem. And I went back and fixed it. But most of the time, they're like, "Oh my god, that's so awesome! I never thought about that." And
Yeah,
I want to make the book as awesome as we possibly can because the better your book does, the better we both look and the more jobs I get. So it's
exactly.
in my best interest to make it as awesome as I can possibly do. And
And
it's just faster to draw it than it is to write out three paragraphs trying to explain what it is. And if you're not a visual thinker like I am, some
I am.
people can't even envision it. Like I know a lot of talented writers that cannot picture things in their head, and so like it's just easier for me to show.
Oh man, that we. Oh man, I could have stayed there all day, but I'm gonna have to move on because we've talked about Allison too. Oh man, I appreciate that. I appreciate the insight there. I really do.
Absolutely.
So can you give us an elevator pitch on what is Allison Lost in Wonderland all about, or what makes your version of Allison stands out from every adoption we have seen before? Because let's be honest, it's it's
There have been a
that's
lot
all
of
about in there.
adaptations of it for sure. And what really makes it different is I've been working on this story for 30 years. And it wasn't Alice Lost in Wonderland when I started. When I started, it was just about a time traveling barbarian with a sword that could cut through reality. And it was just a power fantasy about what if you could go anywhere and do anything and nothing could stop you. And what would you do with that kind of power? What would you do if you were Conan and somebody handed you a TARDIS and you could just do whatever you wanted? Like most of us probably would not be incredibly wonderful people. We'd probably, do selfish things and go on adventures and have fun and, not really think about the consequences.
True.
Um, so it started out as like a power fantasy about that. And what if you had this guy that was hunting you, and no matter how far you ran and what you did, he was always still chasing you. And even when you jumped to different dimensions or different timelines, he would be perched up
Ooh,
on a building shooting at you, and you just couldn't get away from this guy.
that's a
And
rough life.
those two ideas drove me for 30 years coming up with new twisted time travel nonsense to go around these stories. And over the years, as I grew up and matured, the stories grew up and matured. And as I adopted my boys, um, he adopted a little girl that he found that was a time traveler like him. And in my story, people that are born with this bright white hair are they are untethered from time. So where the rest of us have all of our variants and all the other dimensions, like weaving us into the fabric of the multiverse, and we only travel time in a linear way. And
Mhm.
if somebody changes time, that rewrites everything and my history gets rewritten. So now I don't remember the way it used to be, which makes
Mm.
it really impossible for me to go back and stop you from getting killed. Because if I stop you from getting killed, you didn't get killed. So I have no reason to go back in time and then you get killed
The
and creates a
paradox of
paradox.
time travel.
But because these guys are singular and there are no other variants in any other timeline, nothing, they're just an accident. They're one person by themselves with this bright white hair. It marks them that they're untethered. So when the timeline rewrites like a tapestry, you're just a speck floating on top and everything changes around you and it doesn't really affect you. So they can see the timeline change. And in some worlds, these people go on to be, heralded as priests and priestesses, and you have all this visions of the future and stuff. In other places, they're crazy people on the side of the street screaming that you had a mohawk yesterday, and you don't remember that, but he saw it, and then the timeline changed.
Mm.
And so
Oh Lord.
the story evolved, and then recently I had the idea of, as we were just kicking out ideas in a talking with somebody like, where do you get your ideas from? And I just threw out the idea of Alice as a wandering samurai in an interdimensional rift of Wonderland. Just threw it out there. And I couldn't let go of that idea. And then I realized as I was about to start on my next story, and I couldn't decide if I wanted to tell my magnum opus I've been waiting 30 years to tell, or if I wanted to tell this Alice story that I just came up with. And I realized if I cut the daughter out and put Alice in her place, it's basically the same story. Just we just get into it in a different way. And if I
Mm.
turn it and tell it from her perspective, we could go ahead and jump to the end where she already hates her dad and make the good old days when you see her when she's a kid and she loves Rabbit be the flashbacks. And now we get to jump to all the really cool action part where she hates him and she's trying to kill him. And I get to put a sexy girl on the cover instead of a dude. And that, should help with sales. I'm hoping, fingers crossed. Um, and, and it just, and once I did that, and it's this interdimensional rift, now I can play with all the public domain characters. So this ancient automaton, this clockwork being that I've been wanting to put in a story somewhere, suddenly becomes the Tin Man. And the barbarian with white hair that's always on the run and always jumping through these holes in reality becomes the White Rabbit. And the criminal warlord that rules this one city suddenly becomes the Queen of Hearts. And the interdimensional demon deal maker that has all these little finger spiders running around becomes the cobbler and they become his elves, and everybody suddenly starts to fit into
Mm.
these pre-existing characters. So I
Mm.
get to tap into the psyche of, oh, I know who Alice is, but this is a different version. And then I get to say things like, Alice is a badass bounty hunter in an interdimensional rift on the hunt for her time traveling dad, the White Rabbit. And especially women's eyes light up and they're like, oh my God, that's me. I want this book. And I'm like, absolutely, here you go. And
Exactly.
it's so much fun.
It's a, and I thought, and it's the fascinating part for me. When I was looking at this show, I was like, white hair people being untethered from time and space. And I was looking at that, I'm like, yo, every old person would love to cut that they're growing untethered.
Little secret, I'm seriously debating about adding in a little caveat to where, like, the older you get, the more white hair you get because all the other variants are dying off as you go. And
Last one lives is the one that's untethered.
yeah, though you might not have much time left, but
Oh Lord, it was.
it's willing.
That's the first thing I popped in my head. I was like, yo,
There's
that
not a
was.
lot of other fish in the sea, I can tell you that from the gray in my beard.
It's funny because you touch a lot of stuff here, and I wanted to talk about. You kind of just did my entire section, honestly, because every question that you just answered it, and now it's like, what that now I have to talk about the process itself because now you just told me entire storyline. That pitch was excellent in terms
Well,
of.
and it's got time travel and it's got adventure and it's got more blood than I expected. I didn't expect to make it as bloody as it is, but she's a bounty hunter and she kills a lot of people. And
I'm looking at it from the standpoint that it's literally a conversation about when you talk about Ansel Elgort being a bounty hunter, it's shoot, I lost my train of thought. Sorry.
I was gonna say, but like at its core, it's really more of like a family drama, and it's about like generational trauma and how you can do the very best job of trying to not make the mistakes that your parents made and end up making all new mistakes and still have your kids hate you. And you
Yeah.
know, and we're going to see things that happen as time goes on. You see Alice in her flashbacks getting older and older, and you see like once she starts to get to those teenage years and she's getting rebellious and stuff already, and that's the time that we're kicking against the goads and we're trying to, everybody's wrong and we know it all and everything stinks and so dramatic. And then something happens and it just breaks her heart, and from then on she's out to get Rabbit. And it's you know it just broke
It's
their family.
and it's funny because you talk about a wholesome family story right there, and it's like the concept of parents always trying to be the ideal parent, and it
Hmm.
never works. It's never. It's because there's always two things fighting against you. There are other people involved in their life because they actually be exposed to the rest of the world, and your lack of information at the end of the
Hmm.
day. So
And at
hopefully,
its core,
how
like
long will that?
Rabbit tried his best, but essentially it was kind of like that guy that had kids way too young in high school, and like
Hmm.
he tried to be a dad when he was around, and tried to take him out and have fun adventures on the weekend, but wasn't there most of the time when he really needed to be, and made some big
He's a bounty
mistakes a
hunter
few
too.
times. And but he was a kid too. Like he didn't ask for this, but as he's running from people who are trying to kill him for his white hair, and he sees this little girl with white hair as he runs by, he knows like if I leave her, she's gonna die. So he grabs her up and runs, and then by the time he saves her and saves the day, he can't find the way to get her back home again because there's so many dimensions and so many timelines,
Ooh,
and he doesn't
lost
remember
in
where
time
he
and
got her from.
space.
And this isn't like a TARDIS where you dial in something exactly. Like you're cutting holes in the air and walking through them. So like he looked for a long time and eventually was like, well, okay, I'll do the best I can. And his best wasn't the best. But we're also going to see he didn't have the best home life either. So he really did pretty good considering.
It's like damn if you do, damn if you do. Okay, so
Yeah.
I may ask a question though, because you we touched on this earlier, but now we get the opportunity to talk about it a bit. What does your creative process looks like as someone who starts with like the visual first? Does that kind of drive your stories? How does your process go?
For me personally, when I'm doing one of my own stories, I usually tend to like let it sit on the back burner in my brain for a while, percolating while I'm working on other projects, like uh, Green Zone, Life in the Blocks that I did, a series that I just wrapped up the first arc of. Um, that was percolating in my head for like 3 years while I was working on other stuff before I started doing it. So I had most of it fleshed out because I'm running through scenes in the back of my
Mhm.
head, playing through them. Well, what if he did this? What if that happened? Well, if this happened, like if I see something on the news that happened, what would that be like in that world? And what would the reactions be? And I can play through that. So when it came time to sit down and write, it wasn't that hard. Writing is very intimidating for me. Like the thought of like I need to sit down and be a writer now scares the crap out of me.
Mm.
Outlines are not that scary.
I
So
like
I make
outlines.
an outline instead. And
Mhm.
I make like, okay, in this book, I need these four things to happen. And maybe I move them around in the outline until I feel like that's a good order. And
Mhm.
then I just have to figure out like I need 3 points to get from here to here. And so, well, this has to happen and this has to happen. And like they have to get to the hospital before I can have the scene in the hospital. So we got to show them traveling. And then, okay, well, how do we get between those points? And what would they say here? And that's when I start throwing in the dialogue because I use Clip Studio to draw, and it doesn't have a spell checker. So I have to do my writing somewhere else to spell check it all before I copy and paste it over in there, or it would be a
Okay.
lot worse than the mistakes I still end up with sometimes. But so I'll
That's
do it
how
like
it
in a
is.
Google Doc in my outline, and then I'll start typing in all the dialogue, and then I'm done. Other people do a lot more writing, but mine's basically just an outline of how we get from here to there because I'm seeing the whole thing in my head anyway because I'm a visual thinker. And then I've split that down into okay, the book's this many pages, so how many of these points can I get in each page and split it up and end up with like some really dramatic scenes that might have less information but really powerful and
Yeah, that brings a very excellent point, right? Because I was thinking that Wonderland has infinitive creative potential, right? Because you talk about being able to just go infinitely and to get lost. So how do you decide when to push boundaries and when to get ground your reader in specific places?
see, that was the hard part. Like, that was really intimidating for me for a long time, wanting to tell this time travel story. Because in my head, it's 30 years of tapestry that ends up looping around like five times. And, because this happened in the past. And because they made this mistake in the future, they went back and did this. And it all circles around.
Hmm.
So, trying to figure out where do you grab this like gigantic watermelon and try and take a bite out of it? Like that's a hard thing to try and figure out where to start from. And so I just said to hell with it and I just started. I was like, okay, here we are. And I started in an anthology book that I had published, Fish Tales, and I was really hoping that I would get a lot of friends to come along and start adding in stories, and then I would only have to do like 8-10 pages a month for this and have a full book because other people would be volunteering work, and then whoever volunteered could sell it themselves and get it printed at cost, and you know I wasn't trying to make money off of it, just get the book out there and get my story out. So I was like, okay, well, I just need like 4 or 6 pages or something just to get the story started. So, okay, Alice and the Tin Man wake up and they go look for a bounty and they encounter the Cheshire Cat, who's a demon yokai in my book. And there we go. That was the first installment in the anthology. It got such great results. And everybody was talking about how excited they were for the next bit of Alice. And I was talking with a business friend of mine who's very, very business educated. And he was telling me I was going in too many different directions. I was doing too many things at one time. I was trying to do too many series at one time on my own. I
Hmm.
needed to focus on one thing because people have limited minds. They want to stick you in a box. I know this from experience. They want to put you in an easy box. When you are the guy that can do glass etching and murals and calligraphy and t-shirt designs, they can't put you in a box, so they forget your name. If you're the guy that does murals or you're the guy that does comic books, they put you in the little comic book box and they're like, okay, if I need a comic book, Fish does comics. And it was kind of the same way with series. When I'm doing Fish Tales and Green Zone and the Mighty Call of the Crow Magnon and T-Man and Hyperstrike, and they can't remember it all. They know I do comics, but they don't remember which ones. And he was like, if you focused on one, like at the time I had done 11 of my own books. He's like, if you'd focus on one, you would be 11 books into one series now instead of 11 books into five. And and I was like, if I had just started in the beginning, I could be 118 books now into Alice instead of 118 books into like 20 something of mine and 100 for clients. Like I could be so far if I had just focused on my own stuff.
But
But
that brings up a very interesting question, right? And I came across this topic recently where you're rewarded yet punished for consistency. And
mhm,
that is, you are rewarded because your craft gets better as you are consistent with your craft. But the market doesn't necessarily reward you in that same regard versus when you start launching multiple different versions of it.
mhm,
So, and I've had one guest kind of point that out, was like they will say you should be consistent with Alice or consistent with your book, and you're consistent with it, but the market still want to give you 5 subscribers.
Yeah. Well, and
What?
that's the thing. Like, the people that liked the mutant crime drama of
Mhm,
Green Zone didn't necessarily like the Saturday morning bloody bird barbarian of the Mighty
mhm,
Caw, didn't necessarily weren't interested in the all ages friendly T-Man and Hyperstrike about a superhero team with Tourette syndrome and ADHD like I grew up with.
mhm.
Um, those fan bases didn't cross over. So I was paddling away and I was staying at like the 2000,
Mhm.
maybe $3,000 mark on Kickstarter, but I wasn't making any progress. And now on this third issue of Alice, I finally, with the last late pledge, broke 4 grand on one of my own projects under
Mm.
my own Kickstarter. I've done bigger and better with other publishers, but they've been building a brand for a long time. And, on my own, I'm finally starting to see some headway in the right direction because I'm doing one thing that's good that people like and I'm sticking to it.
So,
So,
so it's all about building. So I think we just solve a problem, guys. It's all about building your audience and what kind of audience to try to cater to, because then you can take them where you want them to go.
yeah,
It's like,
and the same audience that like really likes your juggling might not give a flip about videos of you going bass fishing, you know, and the
and
people
it's
that
fun.
like your bass fishing don't care about your how to fix your car videos.
I-
Those are completely different
This,
audiences.
yeah, this
And
brings up a very interesting conversation, right? Because now I'm thinking about, and I just my brain just slipped over to like when I think about megastars like Beyonce and those people and those guys, right? And I'm thinking about they have an audience. They do multiple stuff. They do either beauty, fashion, their music, right? And they do all these other stuff. And they're allowed to have the what's the word I'm looking for? They're allowed to have the spread of creativity across the board. And so when we have these conversations, like, I wonder how we can do the same thing, right? Because I know foot
we
is.
can do the same thing, but like for instance, like take Beyonce for instance. Like I mean, I'm sure she is involved in beauty and probably has a fashion line and probably has a whole bunch of other businesses and does music. I only really since Destiny's Child only became a fan again with the Cowboy Carter one album. Like that one really got me in and I'm a big fan of that. I won't be buying any dresses or any makeup or like I
Exactly.
have no interest in that other stuff. I'm a very small, I am a small piece of her large audience that loves her
Hmm.
stuff. Now, if I have, if she has 10 billion people that like Beyonce and you fraction off 10% of those to her makeup line or her fashion line, that's still a whole lot of people. That's a lot of people coming in spending money. And that's nothing to sneeze at. If I have 100 people that really dig me and my comics, I could split off 10% of them and try and do a makeup line for bald old guys with gray beards, but those 10 dudes aren't going to pay my rent, you know? So you
so,
you got to
so
be careful
I
what you
guess I
do.
guess what we I guess what we understand is that audience curating your audience is going to be is one of your first main objectives. Once you get to critical mass, then you can experiment
Oh yeah.
with
And
that.
like
But it's like,
everybody wants to jump to the end and they're like, "Oh, I'm going to be bigger than Marvel and we're going to have movies and we're going to do animations and it's going to be this giant cinematic connected universe and there's I got hundreds of characters figured out and all this stuff." And like is oh man, we're going to be bigger than Marvel. You just got to come along for the ride. And if you do my book for free, then
ah,
I'll give you a piece of the movie and I'll give you 1% of the animation. You can't have any of the toy money cuz that's going to be too much money, but but you can have a little
oh,
of these things. You are never going to get there at this rate. Like Marvel didn't get there with Stan Lee sitting in a room saying how great he was and how big he was going to be one day. It was hundreds of people working together over decades that created this giant connected comic book universe that only like 10% of the populace even knew about. And but that 10%, some of those nerds finally worked their way up into there to making decisions in the movies, and finally convinced the people with money that had no interest in comic books that this would be a good deal to go for. And they made some good movies, and then they made a buttload of money when everybody else realized it's cool. But that didn't happen
Like,
alone. It didn't happen in a vacuum. It wasn't one guy saying how awesome he was. That was hundreds and hundreds of people working together for a really long time for very little credit and very little recognition. If you're ready to do that, then in 60 years you might be there, but you're not
hey,
going to do it tomorrow.
because when you even bring it up, when you bring it that way, we think about Marvel today, where it has like these epic scenes just dropping like movie. But there's a time when it's like, oh, we can only risk one movie, we can only
Yeah.
afford one, and they risk it with Blade, and they risk it, and then they came back and risk it with Iron Man, and then from that point they had the formula that allowed them to do everything else, and it's
Mhm.
like that's the story that everyone keeps forgetting.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah. Or I'm gonna do like Invincible or The Walking Dead, and my story's just gonna take off, and everybody's gonna know it and love it. Like, yeah, Home Dude was grinding away for years putting out books. He put out books for a long time, very little people reading them. Like, it
and that's still
didn't
the
just take
case
the whole
today.
world by storm. It takes time. You've got to put the effort in. I'm grinding away all day long on books, and but people now know that they know that I put out good books. They know that it's going to be a fun read. They know it's going to look good. They know it's going to have a great story. And now that I've teamed up with T.S. Luther and he is writing the scripts for the books for Alice Lost in Wonderland, and I mean, it's still my story, it's my characters, it's my sandbox. But letting him come in and play with those toys and write the script out, he comes up with ideas and little things that he does that I never would have put in there. And he puts in like emotional beats that I wouldn't have put in for a few issues. And he puts in funny bits that I wouldn't have thought of. And he has side characters go on these little emotional adventures for like 4 pages. I wouldn't have wasted the pages for these side characters that are just going to get killed. I wouldn't have done that. It's some of my
I've
favorite
seen
stuff.
people do that, and it's so funny. It's like,
He
why would
comes
you
up
build
with
up this
such
person
great
to kill him?
ideas, and that inspires me. And I come up with another idea, and then he comes up with an idea, and next thing you know, I just added 8 pages to a comic book, and it's been great.
And I
I
think it's
really
a
love
very good way to kind of extend the storyline. And I would say, as we transition, I'm going to take care of the bills right now, just like you take care, and then we're going to be right
it.
back.
Fun, huh?
All right. Wait. Okay, and as you guys know, this is going to have to talk about our sponsor, which is mycomic.com. Before we continue, take a quick second to talk about mycomic.ai. MyComic.ai helps indie creators grow their audience, track engagement, and turn their comics into successful business. Whatever you're doing, running a Kickstarter, publish on Webtoons, or giving this platform your data and making you smarter creative decisions. So if you're interested in making your comic from a hobby to professional business, um, give us a try. We're currently in beta. We're looking for people to come and try us out. So with that said, let's get back to the story because if you guys been paying attention, this conversation been epic. All right, so let's get back to the story. All right, thank you for allowing me to pay some bills today.
Absolutely, man.
All right, cool. So let's we're in kind of the final stretch right now. All right, and part of it is talking about the indie journey and the community of the indie comics, right? Because um, it's really big, but it feels so small at the same
Mhm.
time. So, what have been some of your biggest challenges you face as an independent comic book creator, and how have you been navigating them?
The biggest challenge is also one of the biggest blessings. It has never been easier for anybody to make a comic and get it out there. You can publish it on Webtoons, you can get it printed up at places like Kablam or Comics Wellspring, and you can get a table at a local con and you can go out and sell it. And if you're any good, you can get people to know about it, you can make sales, and people are reading your comic, and that's awesome. It's also the biggest problem because it's never been easier for anybody to make a comic. So there is a lot of, let's say, enthusiastic tries out there to have to try and wade through. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, but there is a lot of stuff that is very hard to read, very hard to understand what's happening from one panel to the next. Like some I literally cannot read the lettering; it's so messed up. But you learn and you grow, and hopefully you get better. Not everybody does, but hopefully you learn and you grow and you get better. It is really hard to be seen when there is a sea of people out there screaming, "Hey, look at my comic book! I made a comic book!" And when a lot of it is not so good, it's kind of hard to get people to want to risk their money on on your stuff.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that's one place where my simple line art helps out a lot because it's just simple and clear, and I use very simple coloring when I color, and it
Mhm.
pops quickly, so I can flip through a book and people can make out what the images are really quickly and be like, "Oh, you know what? That looks pretty good. Let me look at that a little bit harder," rather than like, "Yeah, you made a comic book. Okay, I know what that's going to look like." And it gets people to give me a shot, give me a try. Luckily, I'm an artist, so I I still have to pay my artist because he eats and he has kids and he has a mortgage,
Mhm.
and so like I still have to pay him, but I can work cheap because I live in Arkansas, and like the price of my house would rent you a gym locker in LA, and so things are things like that help out. I have a beautiful wife who's very supportive and has a nice job, and so I handle the mortgage and the credit cards, and she handles the utilities and the car payment and stuff, and that's been a huge help. Uh, but yeah, it's hard when there's a sea of people out there. It's hard to get anybody to notice your stuff. It's disheartening when the majority of your fans are other comic creators because you want it to just be people that enjoy comics. I'm glad that other people that want to make comics like my stuff. I'm glad the people that I look up to and I want to be like enjoy my books and are waiting for the next one to come out.
Mhm.
I love that, and I'm glad that I'm encouraging and inspiring to other people. I've got all kinds of people that come up to me now telling me like I'm doing this because I watched you on TikTok and saw that you were doing it, and now I'm writing full time. That's how I got to know TS, my writer that writes with me and my editor and stuff, because he wanted to make a go of it and he saw my videos and he was like, "You know what? Now's the time. Things are going right. I'm going to quit my day job and I'm going to become a writer full time." And I was really inspired by his moxie. And he's like, "Hey, will you read the script for me?" And I was like, "Okay, I'll read it. Yeah, sure." And I was trying to think of all the positive things I could say, like, "Boy, you used a lot of words, and man, there's punctuation on every page. Good job." And I was blown away. It was so freaking good. I got a little bit mad when I realized I couldn't draw it because he already had somebody halfway done with the book. And I got to letter it, but I was really kind of mad that I didn't get to draw it because it was really good. And when I saw how good he was and how devoted he was to trying to make this work, I was like, this is a guy I want to keep in my corner. So I kept him close by, and I started paying him to edit my books and stuff. And then we were, as editor, we were talking over the 6-issue arc and like how much of this giant tapestry we're going to carve up and get into 6 issues, and what would make a fulfilling story and still leave you with a good desire. Well, we got to find out what happens next at the end of that. What'd be a good payoff, and how much can we force in here, and how much do we need to prune away so that it's beautiful and not just too much stuff crammed in a bag. And as we were talking about it, and I was had another job lined up I had to do, I was like, "You want to take a crack at writing the script for the next issue?" And I get to throw a little bit more work his way. He gets another credit on the resume because he's aiming for Marvel, so he's building that resume to work his way up the chain to come back down and do indie comics again with a bigger resume of people behind him. So I'm like, "Hey, if I can
He just
help you
want.
out, you can help me out. It'll save me some time." And what he came back with was so good. And I've gotten so many compliments about like, man, issue 1 was good, but issue 2, it just takes off and the world's so much richer and more developed. And I'm like, yeah, thanks. I sure appreciate that. And he did, man. He made it so good. And he studied all the lore of like the Wizard of Oz and Peter Pan and all
Oh,
this different stuff. And so it all he weaves it all in together neatly, and there's little threads for the people that really love this stuff to go down rabbit holes. And it's there's lots of cool stuff, man. He really
all right,
makes it.
all right, yeah, guys. So if I was to try to summarize that, it's a lot of stuff about audience there. But actually, this brings up a very good question because my next question is like you are very active online through your YouTube and your website. So my question was gonna be like, how are you using those platforms to connect with fans and other creators?
That's one thing. Like, I try not to waste any time. I realized a couple of years ago I was wasting a whole lot of time doing things that I thought were active promotion, but they weren't really paying off any dividends. I was giving out a whole lot and I wasn't getting much back in return for that. Even if what I'm getting back is just like a list of videos and stuff to help people learn how to make better comics. Like if I have that to my name, that's not a bad payback. I can keep showing people that, keep pointing people back to those videos. Like I got a whole School of Fish stream playlist on my YouTube channel that walks through all kinds of things, and people would like ask me specific questions, and I will show you how to do it. I built all kinds of like custom brushes and stuff, so you could just and put bottles on the wall or whatever,
Mhm.
and and then I put that up on my Patreon. You can download for free, and the video walks you through how I made it, how you can change it, put your own artwork in there so that it's your bottles going across the page and save you time. I had to do one book where like half of the book was set in this giant MMA match in this giant arena with like 60,000 fans. And so I sat down and made like a custom brush, and I drew out like 60 or 80 different people in different positions, like, screaming, holding up their phones, waving a beer in the air. And so I made this custom brush. So when it came time to those crowd scenes, I could just fill it up with people, and it randomly shuffles all these like 60 people around on there. And I show you how to make that brush in the videos and how to customize it yourself. And like, how I use reference photos and stuff to get ideas for the people. Because you run real short of ideas after like guy 30 of trying to make them look unique. So there's lots of neat little ways to make that go quicker. And I love sharing that information. I love helping other people learn. Like that kind of stuff is valuable to me. But I realized I was wasting a lot of time just doing things that in every direction that weren't paying off. So now I try and do things that are going to be helpful, that are going to help my audience and going to point them back to me or my YouTube or
Mhm.
my web store
Just
or
consolidate people, your audience,
yeah.
the
And
funnel.
like so now we do this art stream on Wednesdays because I know the majority of my followers are also other people that want to make comics and other artists and things like that. I We started doing the show on Wednesdays where we just roll up a random set of prompts, and me and my buddy Esteban both draw a character live on stream and come up with all these crazy, weird, interesting new characters. And the fans have had so much fun coming in on that show, and they're always shouting out new ideas and stuff. The real problem is trying to stick to doing one book right now when we're making up new characters every week, and the people in the comments are yelling out all these awesome ideas, and I'm like, oh, that would make a good book. And I can't
So put it on
go
the
off
pin
on
right
a
there.
tangent and do another book right now. I got to keep doing Alice. And
Let's show it on the wall. Let's show. Oh, that's a good idea. I'm gonna show it on the pin wall. Add your up.
but I'm doing something that is fun for me. I'm getting to engage with the fan base and get them excited, which is good for both of us. And it's giving information. It's setting up a fun game. The role for hero system is really easy, and we just redid the prompt so you can do it with two regular 6-sided dice that you could get out of like Monopoly or something. So everybody's got these, or you can run to the gas station and get these dice. You don't have to have special D&D dice like we used to have. And you can roll up a set of prompts and get a random thing that says, you're a failed experiment that, now has the ability to turn intangible and fly and suck the life out of people. And, your motivation is revenge. And like, what are you going to make? What's this character going to be? And
This
you
is
get to
going to
drop
be
it.
interesting. All right, so I would say this. No, I did bring this up before, and I'm going to ask again now. So, what advice would you give artists trying to stand out in today's crowded indigo comic scene right now?
My advice to anybody that wants to make comics, as much as the world is crowded, as much as the scene is filled up with people that aren't doing terribly good jobs a lot of the time, and it makes it hard to be seen in the sea of people, my advice is to just start doing it. Just start making comics, because there's no better teacher than actually doing it. Whether
Mhm.
that's being a writer or an artist, you will the mistakes that you will make in that first issue. And I know you're worried, what if my first issue sucks? Congratulations. Everybody's first issue sucks. Everybody's first issue has mistakes that they wish they hadn't made, but those are mistakes that you'll never forget. And you'll never make that same mistake again. You'll make all new ones, but you won't make that one again. And you will learn, you will grow. I have made my living as an artist since like the late 80s. And I my artwork has jumped exponentially better over the last 6 years, because
Mm.
once I started doing comic books, you know, if I was painting one mural today, I'm drawing maybe three figures on that mural. If I'm doing four t-shirt designs, maybe I'm drawing four people on those designs, or maybe six altogether. Or maybe I'm doing one really cool character and a logo for, a muffler shop. Now that I'm doing comics all day, I'm penciling sometimes up to like 11 pages a day. I penciled an entire book one time in 28 hours. And every single panel in that book had at least like 10 people in the panel. Like, you get so much better at things because the volume you have to do it at. You
Mhm.
can't not want to draw hands because everybody has hands, and you can't have everybody's hands in their pockets. You can't have everybody's back turned to the camera because you don't want to have to draw their face. Like, it just makes you have to do it, and makes you get better at it. And my second piece
Mhm.
of advice for the artists is steer into the skid, do the thing you don't want to do. If you're avoiding drawing the hands, and everybody's wearing a hoodie so they can have their hands in their pockets, and they can have the hood pulled up so I can avoid drawing faces some of the time. Pull the hood down, put them in a t-shirt, have their hands, make them articulated, and they talk with their hands like I do. Like, start doing what you don't want to do. A friend of mine sent me a script last year, and I was looking through it, and I was like, "Oh my god, one of the main characters is a golden retriever. I do not want to have to draw a dog through this whole book." So I absolutely said, "Yes, this is the one I want to do," because he sent me like three scripts. I was like, "Hands down, this is the one," because I don't want to draw this dog. And the entire time, I kept sending him these pages, and he was like, "Oh, I can't believe the emotion you get out of this dog. And it's a dog in a mask. How do you get this kind of emotion out of the dog?" I was like, "Easy. I don't know how to draw dogs. I know how to draw people." And I actually bought a little plastic dog, like a little golden retrieval figure, that I can look at from different angles and see, like, what does the head look like? What is like their mane of neck
Wow.
fur look like?
Wow.
And so I can hold that in different angles to, use as a reference. But then I have to rely on knowing how to draw expressions to make this dog expressive, and look at my own dogs and see their reactions. And he's like, "How are you so good?" Because I don't know how to do it. And I didn't want to do this book. So I made myself do it. And it's so good. It came out so amazing.
So looking ahead, what's next for Alice in Wonderland or for Mr. Fish himself? Any projects or goals you are excited about coming up?
I am I'm super excited that this issue 3 just hit 4 grand and late pledges are open. Heck, go MrFish.com right there on the screen.
I forgot to
You
bring
can
that
go
up. Why
back.
did I do that to myself? Let me do that right now. Let me see if I can bring that up right
But I'm super excited that I hit that milestone. The next milestone I'm looking for is to try and hit 5K. Um, I've got another campaign that was planned to be out next month, but we had a loss in the family and some things came up, and we've had to take a lot of family trips and stuff. So I got a little bit behind schedule. So now the book was supposed to ship out like a week ago, and now it's going to be shipping out beginning of next month. But finished all the inks the other day. I'm about to wrap up the colors and stuff and get it shipped off to the printer. And luckily, I use a local printer that's actually like 30 minutes away from me, so I don't have to
now.
wait for shipping. I can actually go down and pick it up. The last issue was printed in like 3 days, so the turnaround is really awesome, and the prices are actually
Awesomeness. Awesome. And I'm showing everyone your pages right now. Ooh, you're right. It's a
I'm
lot of money.
saying the mycomic.ai.
Sorry, give me a second because I'm still scrolling. Oh, you're seeing that's what you're seeing?
Yeah.
Oh, my bad. I don't know why that's showing that. I thought it was showing me the screen that I was because I was sharing it. Give me a sec. What's this? Let's wait. Give me a second. Oh, okay. Because I thought you were following along with me, so I thought you were seeing it. Okay, give me a screen share again. This one. Let's go. You seen it?
There we go.
O- Okay. Thanks for pointing that out because I thought we were both following this when I was going through it. Uh okay. So this is what the late star Kickstarter guys. You can
Mhm,
still back this project, which is good because I'm looking at all the projects here. A lot of your swags. You got a swag bag too. Mm.
mhm.
What you what okay. This alone, okay? I can.
I'm telling you, I stare into the skid. I did not want to draw that scene, so I made myself do it. And I made myself do it well. That entire scene is drawn behind her. So every building is drawn behind her in that pinup. So if I ever need that scene again for a background or need them to run through there, I have all of that done.
There's so much there, and it's such a even this part. I'm looking at it as a 3D rendering model. I
That
have
map
this too.
that you
It's,
just scroll by up a little bit, the map was just a bit in the script for like one panel where TS said like, okay, yeah, Rabbit's got a map pinned to the wall of Wonderland, and I was like, well, I can't just halfway my way through that. Like, if he's going to have a map, what does a map of an interdimensional realm look like? And so I had to start thinking it through. And if I was going to draw a map for that issue, there it is. If I was going to draw it on the wall, I might as well make a really nice image of it so I can reuse it. And once I had the really nice image of it, everybody was like, that'd make a really good poster. So that's a
it
poster that's
does.
available on the campaign.
It looks
And
like a one piece. It looks like a one piece poster when they showed the world map.
oh yeah. And it has all the different realms that we've seen, realms that we're going to see. It has hints of things that we haven't seen or experienced yet. As you look through the books, like you can find the places that we're talking about on here, and it's really cool. It's really fun. It's really interesting. But like I like doing that stuff. If I'm gonna do it, I might as well do it. Like in issue 2, there are little secret things hidden in the book. If you find them, you can get access to like YouTube videos and stuff. Like there is a wanted poster inside issue 2 that has like 6 hidden messages in it. So far I've only known one person, two people that have decrypted all 6 messages and
Mm.
found the secret hidden message from Rabbit. But if you find the secret message from Rabbit, most of the messages on the wanted poster all say basically the same thing about Rabbit's wanted. But if you find one, it will take you to an unlisted YouTube video, and you get to hear audio message from Rabbit to Alice, and it's really
Ooh.
beautiful. it breaks my heart every time I've listened to it. I absolutely love doing little things like that for the people like me that like to go back through the video game and get all the little Riddler trophies and collect all the
Yeah,
little things and
you're
get
like a
all the
man who's
side
trying to go
quests.
back and find everything that was lost. Yeah.
So I like putting that
You
kind of
even
fun
got
stuff
the
in.
acrylic standee as well. What?
Oh yeah. And like the minifigures have little secrets hidden on them. So like when you paint them, you'll see little things tucked away in the corner that are hints of other things to come in the book. And like we just put out the rabbit minifigure with this one, and at the beginning of the book, he's going on a mission that's too dangerous for Alice. If you paint the mini, you're going to see a little hint of something in the back of his mini that's a hint of where he was going. And if you paint the Alice and the Big Ten minis, there's little hints on them of things that are just now happening in issue 3, and hints of what's to come down the road. But that's just for the people that back it and get those.
Ugh, okay, I was gonna say that was an excellent example, and that's an example of a well-funded campaign. Um, guys, thank you for having me here. Before we go, I was gonna ask you, where can you fans find your work, follow you for updates, and get their hands on the Alice Lost in Wonderland?
GoMrFish.com is the short link to whatever I'm working on right now, which right now will take you to Alice Lost in Wonderland 3, the Kickstarter, because late pledges are still open. Once late pledges close on that, it will take you to the pre-launch page for issue 4. You can also follow me online, MrFishComics, on all social media. YouTube is a lot of fun. I'm on TikTok, Facebook. And MrFishComics.com is where you can go pick up all the back issues if you want to. Everything's available there. It's also available in my TikTok shop if you want to go check it out there. You can get the whole library there if you want to. I literally just had somebody go to the website and buy the whole freaking library, which was really cool. It's always fun when somebody buys one issue of a book and then they come back and buy the rest of that series. And then they buy an issue of another series and they buy that whole thing. And then they just come back and buy everything. And that's when you know you've got a fan for life.
All right, Mr. Fish, I want to thank you very much for joining me today for another exciting time of Behind the Comics. You taking on Wonderland is unlike anything else I've seen, and I can't wait to see what's next. For everyone watching, make sure to check out Alice Lost in Wonderland on GoMrFish.com, MrFishComics.com, and follow him at YouTube at MrFishComics. Also, all that will be in the description of this page. So, as the saying goes, thanks for all your time. This is another Behind the Comics where we spotlight the creator who keeps the art of storytelling alive one panel at a time. Thank you very much, guys, and I appreciate it.
Man. It was a lot of fun.
All right,